Welcome to the Faith and More podcast. This is a trans-denominational podcast, meaning that it transcends all beliefs and religions. All are welcome and safe here around our fire and at our table, no matter what your faith, beliefs, or religion are or aren't. Hello, my name is Reverend Angel Wise, and I'll be your host. I am an ordained trans-denominational minister, shamanic light worker, director of the Oblates Perpetual Light, intuitive healer, studying Kabbalist, and life coach. I firmly believe that the divine, the creator, Adonai, Hashem, the great mother, God, whatever you want to label that which is beyond labels, works through people each and every day to help us. These angels and saints are so very humble, many of us don't know they exist or existed. Each week, we will explore the lives of these amazing beings. We will also explore topics that can help your faith and spirituality, no matter what it is or isn't. The goal of this show is to encourage, educate, inspire, uplift, strengthen, and heal you and your faith and spirituality, no matter what it is or isn't. So be sure to follow and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Enjoy the show. Before I begin each show, I like to give a disclaimer just so there are no shocks or jump scares during the show. The views and opinions expressed on this show are solely, and I do mean that literally, mine, the host, and our guest. Any and all content provided are of our opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything. We always recommend that you further investigate, contemplate, and meditate on everything that is shared. ISEs, individual soul experiences, will vary. Warning, there will be triggers. Listening discretion is advised. Okay, everyone, welcome to the show. This is an extremely special show. We are so beyond blessed to have an beyond amazing being with us today. As you all know, we've been talking about quite a bit, all of season 5 and all of season 6, if not before that, about the importance of spirit and the importance of us connecting with our spirit, learning how our spirit is, literally remembering that we are spirit having a human experience and not humans having an occasional spiritual experience. Our guest today, to me, is an expert on this. He is truly a master at this. He was ordained and is culturally renowned as an exorcist, healer, and spiritual warrior. He was born and raised in ceremony, tradition, and spirit of the Dene, which is the Navajo. At the age of 13, he was chosen one of 4 individuals from his tribe to undergo training that goes above and beyond what a normal medicine person goes through. He was trained by a high council of mentors and with his peers from other tribes and backgrounds. Having earned many feathers with the high council's teachings, he has earned the right to teach others the sacred ways of his people. He has mastered a special technique that gives him the ability to communicate with the entities and spirits of all realms. He can actually get to know them, what they need and what they want. He has not only helped people, us humans, but he has literally helped thousands of spirits. And hopefully we will have time to talk a little bit about that today. He is a member of the Unearthing, the supernatural team, which is an indigenous paranormal team. He's also been on Ghost Adventures, Peacock TV, Discovery Plus, YouTube, and much more. And how this came about is my wife, Haven, and son, who are part Apsaluka, which is Crow. She's always a great scout on trying to find, because we love paranormal. And those who listen, long-time listeners know that. She's a great scout at trying to find new and unique ways or fresh ways of people who do paranormal. And she found Unearthing the Supernatural. And they are just literally off the charts. And of course, I will have links to everything with them and with Hero, our special guest. So without further ado, aho, yate, and welcome, Hero.
Oh, Keho, thank you for having me here, and it's a pleasure to have you guys reaching out and to express interest in allowing me to talk here. I was wondering if it's all right if we can kind of start off with like a little kind of a breathing exercise for everyone, and then kind of a protection prayer is kind of something that we prefer to do and we like to do anytime we talk about anything spiritual in that sense.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what we always like to try to do is we ground ourselves with breathing. So we'll take 4 deep breaths. And with each breath, I want you to breathe in the air that has been gifted, a very special air that makes you alive, makes your spirit alive, and connects you with all things around you. So we'll go ahead and start. Iltit enachons ans ibishka hotant ideltahon sahish. Alteden ewan, eden shahoki. Bikt iden seltahon sis. Jet haltahon, macht jeanaltis. Istedon nakailt ish, jeonahaska, iltgagaha. Akun ze, alteben chauza, det edan orchatin. Mi inchi hakontka. Achonich edes esensi, after an bonze hachai. Ank eden at the honshish, yest on shaha, ashtion shaha, iskeankan ninensi. Meet eda, hastowns il down on the hinirke. Am on shishekon saha, anachamont enel tahansis, achont enal tahonshka, anacham honselki, anachohuyahe. Yeah, thank you again for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. I can't thank you enough. And I apologize if I'm a little nervous because I'm a bit starstruck, I have to say.
No need to be. I'm just a regular person, honestly.
I know that, but your energy is just off the charts. It really is. It's just so amazing. So anyway, folks, we're going to talk about the importance of spirit. You've all heard me bang the drum literally and scream it from the mountaintops of how important it is. And I'm not saying that we all just need to throw away our humanity. On the contrary, I'm saying that we need to find a balance between spirit and human, because as I was talking to Hero about before we started, is if we're not blessed to be born into an indigenous culture, we are not raised in the ceremonies, in the old ways, to know what spirit is. We are from birth programmed. And again, like I always say, don't look at your parents, don't look at your grandparents or ancestors. They were taught and done the same way. We as settlers to Turtle Island, as the indigenous people call the United States, we're not indigenous to this area, to this land. And so we are taught and programmed completely differently by our culture, which is mostly European culture. And again, it's no fault of anybody's, but we have to remember there is so much more to life than being a human, working the job and paying the bills and just literally surviving. I mean, animals do that, and they are actually higher on the plane than we are as far as evolution goes, because they're not bogged down with all the garbage that we are. And again, it's nobody's fault, but we need to find that balance. And again, we have the master here, Hero. Feel free to share anything that you can to help us, especially those who don't have any background in spirit, and what that is, the importance of it, and how being connected with that, and as well as the spirits around us, which we are completely utterly surrounded. If we could see the spirits around us, our heads would probably pop. And well, Hero can tell us all about it because he does. He does see these spirits. He communicates with them and helps them.
Yeah, and you're definitely right. That's why I have to wear this headband to keep my head from popping, honestly.
No doubt.
But yeah, thank you. When it comes to at least being a basis of understanding of yourself, of each and every person that you interact with every day, it's really, I know it's hard to say to take away the cover, but it's really essentially kind of what you really have to do. And you have to take away the cover of what that person looks like on the outside. You can use your instinctual connections and instinctual DNA kind of survival instincts, but sometimes those have to be suppressed a little bit, especially when you meet someone or you feel someone. You get to feel people when you get to move and interact with them, and you tap into that. So indigenous culture and indigenous belief systems, we really tap into energy. We really tap into spirits and how the flow of everything is. Everything is in motion. Everything is in flux. Everything is going to continue to move no matter how much you try to either stop it or manipulate it. There's no way as an individual person you can really do that. Instead, you just interact with that flow. You move with it. And just like that flowing river that's flowing everywhere, and you're just a stone. So being able to understand your place, being able to understand the place that's around you, it's like the stone waking up. You wake up and you realize there's this water flowing around you, and you realize you kind of look around and you see the sky, and you see the elements, you see animals, you see people, you see just things in nature, in creation moving around. And as that stone, you start questioning yourself. You start questioning, why am I in this river? What is these things around me? And why am I like this? Why am I in this position? And the stone has to realize what he is, what he can do, and his place. And from there, the stone looks outwards and understands how everything else moves. What is this water? What is this motion, this power that's flowing around me, that's shaping me, that's turning me into a different form? And then what has made this water? Where did it come from? Oh, look, there's storm clouds. There's higher beings up there that are making thunder, that are making rain. And then you go outside of that. Okay, how did the rain storm clouds get up there? And you see a fire, you see a mountain exploding, volcanic creation. You see even just a forest fire and the smoke billowing up, and then the winds creating the dust. All that helps with condensation, and it goes back into the sky, that flow of things. Things grow, things pass away. All things kind of connect in those ways, and you really start to understand yourself and where you are. And what I'm trying to get with kind of all these analogies and kind of making yourself a stone is, as that stone, you start seeing other pebbles, other stones in the river. You start seeing other beings that are similar to you. And you start realizing, okay, so here's our purpose, here's how we connect. Maybe this other stone looks and thinks like you or behaves like you, has an energy similar to you, looks like it's going to be on the same path as you. And then you start realizing there's other stones in another river, and you start realizing there's other things. And so, when you realize and understand life from the lowest creature, from the smallest thing, even the smallest ant, down to the smallest pebble, the smallest grain of sand. When you understand the perspective of life from there, only then can you start building and start understanding the highest beings, all the way up to the eagle that flies to the heavens and then beyond into the stars. You have to understand what that pebble goes through. You have to understand the view of that, being able to understand hardship, being able to understand struggle, and then being able to get that viewpoint of what is that little thing going through. And then you can build from there. Ultimate test of empathy, ultimate test of awareness of understanding yourself. And once you understand yourself, then you start journeying out and learning and becoming, shaping that stone that you are. And they say a lot of indigenous people were made from the earth. We were put together with pieces, very sacred objects, some of it with the earth itself, the mud, the clay, the stone, were shaped in certain ways. And so understanding those basis teachings is going to really help you out. Just understand where you are. And yeah, it's true that non-indigenous people kind of have a little bit harder time with connecting to spirit. And I only attribute that, my personal thoughts and beliefs with it is just that it's been a long time since you had that true connection. It's been there. Your ancestral DNA has those codes of being and living with nature, living with the creator, living with whatever you call your God, your creator being. You have that connection there. It's deep in your DNA. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Your lineage wouldn't have survived. So you have that deep in you. It's just maybe that connection is just a few generations misplaced as far as for how the world has been. The European continent has experienced a lot of hardship, has experienced a lot of change, and it forces you to change, forces you to adapt into those modern times, and it kind of pulls you away from spirit, pulls you away from what's going on around you. There have been spiritual people all throughout time, and it's just being able to find yourself, find your pebble. And that's what we indigenous people believe, is that you're just your energy, your spirit, like how you say you're a spirit in a human form. You're an energy in that sense, and you're having an experience here as a human being, as your DNA code is constructed, your ancestral past, and you're making the blueprints for your future many generations down the line. So a little starting point to kind of to help out.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So, I mean, and the thing is, it's just that, like you said, we have it. We have the abilities. Everybody has the abilities. It's just that, our culture and everything, and our, as you said, generations have just, our spirits have just been put to sleep. They're sleeping. We just need to wake them up. It's not something to attain or to get. And that's the big thing, is everybody just wants to go and get, where can I go to get this? I need to go to India to study, to do this. I need to go to, Mount Kailash and do this, and Mount Shasta for that. And, it's here, it's always here and always present, because the creator is always here and always present. As you said, the pebble, just look around you. You are it, and it is everything.
Definitely. You are pebble. You are of the creation, and you have been touched by creation. You have been gifted out of all your generations, out of all the possibilities. You yourself have been gifted with this time on this earth, with the particular time period we're in, this particular moment. This is your time to shine. This is your time to learn. And what you learn and what you pass on here to your next generations, even if it's not your direct blood lineage, it's those that you encounter, those that you touch. Those ones are going to take your learnings, maybe your teachings, or maybe just a couple happening chances of meeting someone could have an impact on another being.
Absolutely.
And that chance impact, that chance encounter could echo and reverberate many, many generations down the line. So feel positive in that. You're here for a purpose. You're here for a reason. You're a part of creation. And it's just you finding your way as a pebble.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't understand how we impact others, and this just smallest little things, as I've always said on the show, is you don't realize when someone is literally at the end of their rope. And one more thing could just push them over the edge. And if, just a kind word or smile or, genuine heart, to heart with someone can literally change lives. And it's that ripple effect, that goes on and on and on.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely just as much as you can, spread that love, spread that happiness. And then you'll learn a lot from it too. You'll learn how other people react to that energy. You'll learn how other beings react to that energy. And some beings try to trump up that energy. And so that's where you start getting into needing to protect yourself,
Right.
needing to maybe sharpen a couple edges on your pebble just to make sure you can you can be
Oh,
protected for sure.
definitely. And, another thing, wanted to talk about with you is, how the importance of not only, as we just talked about, our spirit, getting in touch with that, but also remembering the other spirits, the spirits around us, our ancestors, guardians, guides. Not necessarily, communicating with them is not for everybody, but for those who, can and want to do that and learn how to do that in a responsible and safe way. Because if you want to know, folks, about the wrong way and what happens, just watch Hero's channel on YouTube. He shows and talks about, they have what they call a meeting of the warriors where they talk about the do's and don'ts. And there are so many don'ts that we don't realize. And even professional paranormal investigators don't realize that. Mediums don't realize that, when they walk in and they're, well, this is a demon and I need to cleanse this area and kick this person out. There's so much more to it. And Hero is amazing at being able to speak directly to these spirits and finding out, who they are, what they need, giving them an offering, helping them move along if they want to move along, helping bring peace between them and where they reside and who resides with them. It's just absolutely beautiful and amazing. And it's, something we as a culture of settlers here on Turtle Island is that we've gotten away from honoring our ancestors, honoring those who have passed. How many of you think about a lost loved one? I'm sure if it's somebody recent or somebody very close, you probably think about them all the time. Or, a pet, or what we call fufulu pup, you might think of them always. But, to honor them, to really honor them, show them respect, and give them an offering. It's just, Hero can explain more on that. And it's not something that you have to be a medicine person or a shaman to do these offerings. It's something that everybody can do.
Definitely. Yeah. It's that connection with spirit, that understanding that you are that pebble, you are in the flow and creation of things. And that includes other beings that maybe your human form can't quite see, can't quite interpret, or maybe you can, depending on the gifts that you have. And it's always very important to represent yourself in the best way possible, because you are interacting with the world. No matter how secluded you may be, there are other beings out there that are interacting with you, that are looking at you. And your ancestors, how we reference it is which means your ancestors, they look upon you from back when they were around. They already saw you, they thought about you, they prayed about you, and they actually laid down protections for you. And if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be here. They may have made their mistakes, and they had their knowledge, maybe their hiccups that they had back in the day, but they did just enough to be able to pass on that knowledge to you and those protections on to you, and to make the world, at least to this point, where you're still here, we're still alive, we're still humans. We have our issues in modern days, yeah, but the biggest thing is we're still here. And as well, those beings are still here as well. Those beings that once were communicated with a lot. It was a daily basis. It was a daily song. Everything we did, that means in creation and everything we do with Mother Earth and all of creation all around, it's a prayer. It's a connection. Every breath, every thought we make is that prayer and is that connection with the world around you. And those beings pay attention to that. All beings around, they see you, they recognize you. They understand that you're on this earth and you're moving with everything and you have your place. And so when we go out, when we go investigating, when we go to either haunted locations or sometimes we're called to strange happenings, The biggest thing that we have to make sure is that we have that respect, we have that acknowledgement of what could be there, and so we always greet, kind of greet and have our moments with our loved ones, because as a warrior, sometimes what you're going out to go against, it may be the last time you see your family. It may be the last time that you come back. And so there's always that understanding and that love, and saying that we'll find a way back somehow to our loved ones. And then we go out, and we go out to these places, because you don't know what you're dealing with. You don't know if it's something on the polar opposite of goodness and love. You don't know if it's a high being that has so much power that it has no concept of good and evil. It could be something that just doesn't care, and just it's extremely powerful. So you kind of got to be careful with that. And with that respect, you go there. You be careful what you interact with. You be careful what's around, and acknowledgement is a huge key. So when we say our prayers, we always acknowledge the four directions. We acknowledge creation, and we acknowledge all elements. And that includes the light, that includes the sun, the moon, the air, the wind, all the elements that you can think of, but also acknowledging the shadow, the female spirit that is darkness. It's not an evil spirit. It's something that is there, that holds you and takes care of you. You were in darkness when you were in your mother's womb, and so you had that love and that protection there, that spirit that protects you. So you take care of yourself with that. You take care of yourself when you interact with those beings. Have respect for those beings, because you don't know who they are. You don't know what kind of struggles they may be going through. And you as a human, you've been given a special gift to where you're physical. You're in this realm right here. You can speak, you have a tongue, compared to a lot of other animals. They don't have that ability to enunciate language. Some of them kind of have an aspect of that, but we have a very special tongue. We have a very special means of communication where we speak for a lot of these beings. We speak for a lot of these medicines. We speak for a lot of these spirits. And because of that, we are seen as bridges, and we are seen as kind of mini creators. That's why our brains work a little bit different. We have an imagination. We have a freedom that allows us to be able to create things, allows us to be able to think freely, and instead of just behaving on just instinct, we have that ability to have curiosity and think beyond instinct. And like, what happens if I go past my judgment and do something slightly different here? Well, what happens if I take an extra step? Sometimes you learn the hard way, sometimes it ends up being good. And so, and it's actually gotten to us to where we are today with our innovation, how we're able to speak from many, many miles away. Thankful for that. And it's a true testament to who we are as many creators, as many beings that can be that bridge. And it's up to us to have that responsibility with communication to these other beings, these other elements, these other spirits that keep the world going, that keep the world spinning pretty much. When you have that acknowledgement to them, then they acknowledge you that on your journey, on what you're creating and what you're passing on, and maybe something that you're going to have an influence on many, many generations down the line.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we don't realize how many spirits, guardians, guides, ancestors are always around us all the time and are constantly helping us. You know, they're constantly doing things for us, whether we are aware of it or not, you know, because being human, if we can't see, touch, taste, or feel, you know, we don't really believe it, but they're always there. They're always doing.
Definitely. And that's something too, multiple senses beyond just those five standard senses that you can develop, you can open up, you can be able to get more attuned to. And I like that tuning, kind of changing your frequency a little bit, to be able to hear and feel, and you develop some other senses of at least acknowledgement, to where maybe you get a little buzz on your back, maybe you have that gut feeling, or maybe it's a little pressure in your ear, or maybe it's a little sense of seeing something on your peripherals. We have these senses that have helped us to survive, and because these beings are all around us, we have been able to survive so long interacting with their worlds we all have those connections. It's just being able to tune into it and attune to it to an effect that we can recognize them, know when they're around, and be able to communicate in that aspect.
Yeah, and then as Heroes talked about on his YouTube channel quite a bit, there are spirits out there that you just would not believe that he's encountered and witnessed. The Anasazi, Shadow Stealers, Soul Eaters, Thunder Beings. He's got a book called The Journeys of a Young Spirit, Abalone.
Abalone, yep.
Everybody, please go to Amazon. Of course, I'll have a link in the show description. Get that. It is amazing. It truly is amazing. And when you're talking about opening yourself up and, and becoming more in tune and more into the spiritual beings is just amazing. He talks about Black Lightning, Hooded Owl, and so many others. It's just amazing. And I did want to ask you, Hero, about Zolska.
Zolska, yeah.
Zolska.
This guy behind me.
Is he coming back anytime soon for story time? I mean, if you could tell everybody a little bit about him.
Yeah, so a long time ago, you can imagine, even before settlers kind of came over, the indigenous peoples had a vast network of what you can kind of recognize today as highways. They used to connect tribes, kind of roadways or trails or paths that were allowed tribes to connect and interact with each other. And on these, with these connections, there used to be a market. And these markets would travel all the way down to modern day South America, all the way up to the tip of Alaska. They would travel all over. And they had means of being able to sell, communicate. They had crafts, they had ceremonies. And one of the more important beings that was there, the more important roles of this market was a spirit, a storyteller, a being that has allowed them to be able to communicate and to allow them to be able to speak and be a part of this communication. Real quick, did it freeze? The video
yeah,
freeze?
You froze. Okay. You froze. That's all right.
let me see if I can refresh it real quick. A little bit better. Is it still frozen? Oh, hold on.
There you are.
All right, good. All right. So it might be, my computer might be getting a little warm. That might be why. But yes, so these beings from long ago, they used to be able to tell the stories from tribes from all over the realms, from all over the world pretty much. And these stories were stories of each individual tribe's creations and reasons why they did things, very peculiar stories of how things came about. And so there is a very important role when it came to storytellers like Jolska. And they say his type of spirit, his type of being was there during creation and was there during other tribes' creation as well. And kind of what took part in very key roles in how the sun moved, how the stars were placed, how whether it's night and day, the timings of that, how the seasons went, how animals would go to sleep at certain times. There's a lot of different aspects that these high beings had connections to, and there's stories behind it. There's stories behind why they did what they did and why they do what they do, and those connections kind of transcend time. They're able to connect to modern day problems. They're able to connect to why we do things. And one of the more important stories that Jolska had in a more recent telling was the story of the tongue, and how the tongue is the sharpest weapon, is the most deadly weapon, and is the most painful weapon. They said they made the tongue out of an arrowhead. When you look at an arrowhead and you flatten it out, it looks like a tongue. And they said it's sharp. And they said it deals a lot of damage, but also it feeds the people. It protects your people. It provides healing. It is not just a tool of pain, but it is a tool of protection. It is a tool of healing as well. Just like how modern day doctors, they use scalpels and lasers to be able to do minute surgery. And so your tongue, they say, you have to be very careful with. You can provide many blessings. You can bring a lot of people together. You can end wars. We can also create wars. You can hurt people beyond what any blade can do. Pain and scars that can last generations. And so you be very careful with what that tongue, what you have in your mouth, what it can do. It's a very sacred blessing, how we're able to speak for the spirits, how we're able to speak for ourselves and our people. It can also hurt a lot of people. So there's that lesson that he had with the tongue. A lot more detail and intricacy into how it was made with his stories for sure. But he's an old spirit. And when we don these masks, we in a sense open ourselves up for the spirits to speak through them. And you can see a lot of them don't have a face, a very particular face. He's covered with those strands. And that's to be able to kind of protect the people. He had a face that is not recognizable, that can be scary. That's why we only recognize to things that kind of have a face kind of like ours, or a face like an animal's. I think it's called pareidolia, where we connect to make faces out of things based on shapes and connections. So we have an innate connection with that. And before our faces were made, how we got like the crevices on our noses and how we were shaped the way we are, there are beings that were kind of flat faced. There are beings that didn't have those features, and maybe some are very scary features to us. And so that's where they have that face covering to protect us and to be able to focus on what they're saying rather than what they look like. And so that's kind of the reason why his face is covered in particular. So it's very rare that he comes out, and he's only come out once for the ceremony here in the past at least generation. And so he may or may not come out again. We'll see. It all depends on ceremony. It all depends on the purpose. The mask we'll use for other ceremonies as well. I have a few other masks that we use. There is a short film where that mask was also used, but it's all in a sense to tell stories. It's in a sense to be able to have kind of translate teachings to people in a way that more than what words can say. So being able to tell a story with pictures, being able to tell a story with movement and action, and that's something that Unearthing Supernatural is learning how to do, and trying to be able to translate all those teachings rather than just words.
Well, you all do an amazing job with that. I mean, you guys are taking all of that to a whole new level, and we are so beyond blessed that you guys are out there doing what you're doing, and that you're sharing your culture and your ways, the old ways, with us. We cannot thank you enough. I mean,
camera.
Okay. But one of the things that, one of the many things that I've recently saw you talk about is, like you said with the mask, that it gives you the ability to not only channel, correct me if I'm wrong, channel that spirit, but also so you can communicate with spirits in that realm. That, like you have said, that for them to recognize you as one of them and to be more at ease. And you talked about how dangerous it is for those who deal with death and try to, cross people over, and, anything to do with that, and how, you paint your nails. So when you reach through, they see that as, part of their realm. Whereas if, somebody like me was just to, dabble into that, it could actually bring, physical harm, if not kill me,
Definitely. You'll kind of have to understand at least the teachings and the basis of those realms and those worlds. We take precautions. We have the songs, the ceremonies. A lot of them we don't show the full length of on our episodes. Even when we go into the action of like even painting the nails or donning the mask, there's a prayer and song and a whole ceremony that goes into even just putting that on, because in a sense you are becoming those beings. You are representing that world. You are becoming a being that is more than just human, more than what your human boundaries kind of prevent you and protect you. Actually, it's a protection. It's not a hindrance. It's not something that's supposed to be a barrier for hindrance sake. It is a protection. It is something that's going to be there to protect you from things that you're not necessarily supposed to dabble with quite yet in that realm. But sometimes we are forced to do that. We are, and that's why we were given these songs. That's why we were given these teachings. We were given these languages and these motions, these particular trinkets, these particular, they're called jish, ceremonial objects, that allow us to transcend that allow us to kind of, hold on, I gotta walk in this world for a little while and maybe fix something. It's like being able to, we're not meant to fly, but somehow we are up in the sky in airplanes. We can't fly ourselves, but we build something around us to go up there. And so with that, you have to definitely know as much as you can of what you're doing before you do those ceremonies, you interact with those beings. It is offensive to a lot of beings for you to try stepping in their world. And that would be like you being able to go into the water and suddenly being able to breathe. And they're just being like, what is this being here? You're alien to them sometimes if they don't recognize you, if they're a type of being that doesn't recognize the physical realm a whole lot and they're in their realms, it's scary to them. What is this?
We'd be like a ghost appearing to them.
Yeah, exactly. A ghost appearing to them, or aliens coming down. Mm-hmm. What is this? You know, like, who are you? What are you coming from? And how are you able to survive in our realm? Or it could be seen as a challenge. Like, how dare you come into this realm? How dare you live in this world? Can you even survive in it? And so being able to walk with respect, being able to have that knowledge, know when you need to bow, know how to have manners. Because like if you're interacting, let's just say with a mirror being, you have to walk backwards. You have to be able to spin counterclockwise, maybe even talk backwards sometimes. There's particular spiritual beings called Hayokas in the Lakota culture. That's what they do, is they're backwards beings. And so when you interact with the mirror world, you're dealing with that. Those mirror beings, basically your reflection that you see has a life, has a spirit. And there's an unlimited amount of those. And it's very interesting when you really get into the philosophy of that. And also you start dealing with it in the real world, spiritual world. It goes back and forth. But when you start dealing with all that, you have to kind of have that sense of understanding and how, at least a little bit of how that world works. Compare that to, say, going to the thunder world, going into the thunder beings, where they are very stubborn. They are very up about manners and being able to be like, hey, what are you doing here? If you don't have a proper purpose for being here, we'll end you. And if it's not going to be you, we'll pass it on to someone that's close to you. And and it's not something that's evil. It is more something based on power and respect. And so you have to respect your role and your place. And we as human beings have to respect our place. And when we do have to dabble or move some things, interact with things, or maybe change a path of some shape or form, we have to understand what we're doing. And so that's where we always say you have to be very careful when interacting with spirits, very careful when interacting with other realms, and at least have a base knowledge of respect. Always have an offering for sure to give, and always have that love, and always have that proper purpose of doing it. That's kind of what we say. So that's why we say ghost hunting is not necessarily for everyone. It's not supposed to be for everyone. That's why if you were to ask any other Navajo, any other, most indigenous people, most if not all of them, will say you're not supposed to mess with those things. You're not supposed to mess with ghosts. You're not supposed to mess with the spirits unless you're a medicinal person, unless you know the songs and ceremonies, unless you've gone through the trials and tribulations to be able to introduce yourself in those ways. You've been there. You'd had a mentor that's like, hey, this is how the song and ceremonies go. This is how you are when you interact. And then they take you to those realms and like, this is so-and-so. And you introduce yourself to those elements and those beings and those worlds. And then you're able to be like, okay, at least they know who you are when you're going there. They know what you're doing and where you come from, your purpose. So be very mindful of that, and be very mindful of yourself as a pebble, because sometimes a pebble can't push up against the great flow of the river. But so sometimes you just have to go with the flow. But definitely be careful. I think that's the baseline.
Yeah, because sometimes us pebbles think we're mountains, and
Definitely.
and that's one of the things, folks. That you please go watch Hero's channel and all of his videos. I mean, it's beyond amazing, the respect that they show, the caution that they show, and I absolutely love, as he said, there is a lot they don't show. Number one, because it's sacred, and number two, it's awesome because that way you don't get copycatters, teens or somebody, or even stupid adults, watching this and trying to mimic it and getting themselves into who knows what, and their families and their ancestors into some kind of huge mess where they end up having to call Hero to come in and try to get rid of this. But as Heroes said on his show, that the Anasazi, if you have an Anasazi, you can't get rid of that Anasazi. There are things you can do, or I shouldn't say you can do. There's things Hero can do to help, balance your life with that being, which is just off the charts because they are beyond ancient. They have been here before anything, if I'm correct. And it's we just have to be so careful with the respect, because we don't even show respect to people, humans, most of the time, and that's something we definitely need to change, and not just that, but again, carry that on to our spirits, to our loved ones, to our ancestors, to anything. There is spirit in everything. There's spirit in a rock. There's definitely spirit in a tree. You don't believe it, go up and do like Hero did at the beginning, leading us through the cleansing breaths, 4 breaths. Put your hands on that tree, close your eyes, and just feel. Just shut the mind down and just feel. As we talked about on the show many times, switching from the mind to the heart, and just feel with your heart, and you will feel that spirit of that tree. And it's just the spirit around you, the spirit in the air, the spirits around you. It's just completely amazing. The spirit in your car, the indigenous people of Tibet, people laugh at them when they're blessing cars, but they believe there is spirit in your car or your vehicle because all of the elements are there. All of the elements are in that motor, in that car, and that they respect that, and they make offerings to that, and they bless that.
Definitely, we indigenous people always do that too. They're our war ponies. They're
Yeah.
there are our horses that get us around, and so a lot of times when we get a new car, we bless it just like we do when we get a new horse. We have it go on adventures with us. We ask for it to take care of us. If you go on TikTok, there's many trends of people praying to their car to get them to the gas station when they're low on gas. So there's a lot to it. How we indigenous people see the world around us. Everything has a life. Everything has a spirit, and it's more than just thinking, oh, these are just inanimate objects. They may be to the human and scientific eye, oh, it's just a stone, oh, it's just a table, oh, it's just a regular inanimate object that has no life. But to us indigenous people, it has a connection. It has an energy. It has that connection to the creator. It is here for a purpose. It is a collection of atoms. It is a collection of talking about, you start going into quantum physics and indigenous viewpoints on quantum physics and how we are able to understand how I think his name is Professor Leroy Littlebear, and how he presented alongside Albert Einstein, started talking about the Higgs boson field. He was an indigenous physicist. I think he was a mathematician, I think by trade, but he understood and tried to make those connections with science and indigenous philosophy, and how we still have an understanding of how all these things are. They have electrons. They have the atoms, protons, neutrons. They have quarks. Everything that we have around us has that connection. We ourselves, we may think we're solid, but we're just atoms that are close together. and we bump into things because our atoms are just really close together. And so with that, in a sense, if we were to spread our atoms out just a little bit, we wouldn't be bumping into things. We wouldn't be hitting things. We would be going right through it. We would be interacting with a different kind of realm and different kind of world. And so indigenous people have always had that, maybe not in English, maybe not in quite the way science believes it, but we always have that little bit of understanding.
Oh, yeah. I mean, put anything under a microscope and there's all kinds of different universes that you never knew existed.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Definitely. And so going back to the points of interacting with spirit, interacting with those things, yeah, we don't show everything. There has been copycatters that have gotten themselves in trouble, that has gotten themselves hurt. And really, going into manners a little bit more, you may have all the love in the world and all the respect and like, I want to come to learn, but it's really when you go up to a being who doesn't have modern morals, in a sense that their morals are completely different than yours. It doesn't mean they're wrong. It doesn't mean their morals are wrong. They may see your morals as either weak or wrong or just completely different because their realm is different than yours, and they have to behave in order to survive a very particular way. And it may come off harsh to us. It may come off even dark or evil to us, but to them, that's just how they are and how they have to live. And so you being able to be a sponge and soak in, okay, what is this being here? So I go into a completely different part of the world and seeing their customs and cultures. You have to be able to adapt and not offend that culture in order to have that level of courtship, that level of diplomacy, to be able to talk with them, sit with them, have dinner with them, and be able to adapt yourself to not offend anyone. It's the same way with spirits.
Yeah, and it's people automatically like, oh, there's a spirit in my house, it's got to go. It's like, well, that spirit may have been there long before you, and you're in its realm. But we're looking as, no, it's bothering me. It's in my realm. It's in my house.
Definitely, yeah. There's a lot of things that we have to become unselfish in a sense. You have to really take yourself, like I said, put yourself down into that pebble roll. You are occupying a space and time right now, and you have to realize there are other things occupying this space. You have the walls around you in your home, and you acknowledge and you respect that. You give your home offering. There are beings around. You're breathing air right now. You're thankful you're breathing air. You have oxygen around. You may have plants. There may be plants outside. Even the sun and the moon, your room will light up when you open the blinds, and that's that sunlight, those photons coming in. And when you close the blinds, there's that darkness. That's still a spirit that's there taking care of you. And you look in the reflection in the mirror when you're washing your face in the morning, there's a reflection in that mirror. If not, when you're washing your face with that water, there's that water being and also those reflections in the water. You can't escape the realms that are all around you. All you can do is learn to live with it, respect it, and in turn, it'll take care of you. It'll watch after you, and you'll live the best life you possibly can by deciding and accepting all that's around you.
Oh. Wonderful words of wisdom from Hero. Thank you so much. So I guess we'll wrap things up here. I don't want to keep you. I wish I could, but I know you've got many things to do, and we are beyond blessed for you have been here on the show. I want you to know that you are more than welcome anytime on the show. We would be more than blessed to have you back. We always close with a prayer, and we would be honored, deeply honored, if you would close us out with a prayer.
Of course. Altins bishon salkin zokanaha. At idin kahonsis mishon iltien eda. Askin iltahan shahan mishk shoshin sehelti. Anaha niteshon sehelte nishbihansi. Yakan nilka. Auto nion nachrach mi nilkonsi. Anaha woshkin shishi. Bishbans und sediltahanna. Okogoni nicht eon sahalka. Aeni ya. O nishkanch ebishi anochainti. Anachan tent eon ehbi. Anch edon shahaka. Anachawant enelkianski. Anachuyahe. Yo, thank you, everyone. Thank you
Uh-huh.
for having me here. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of your journey, allowing me to be a part of your journey and help you out. Hopefully, something that I have will be able that I say that I show something can be able to help you on your journey, can be able to be a tool in your belt, and so that way you can rely on it. And if not you, maybe someone down the line that you talk to, they'll be able to utilize this tool to help them out. So thank you, everyone.
I so hope and pray you've enjoyed the show and that you found everything that you're searching for and more here with us. Stop by anytime, all the time. You are family. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with as many people as possible. Subscribe, rate, and review. And if you really enjoyed the show, please consider making an offering. Offerings are a great way to help sustain and improve the show and the Faith and More ministry. Offerings can be made through Patreon at patreon.com. That's Patreon, patreon.com/Faith and More Podcast. Next is prayers. I love to pray, and our Faith and More family love to pray as well. So let us pray for you. You can email me directly at faithandmorepodcast@gmail.com. I am also offering healing sessions now that involve angelic, intuitive, and quantum healing. This is done via phone or Zoom. Due to the scope, energy, and time involved in this type of healing, there is a minimum donation required. Please contact me for more information at faithandmorepodcast@gmail.com. Also, please don't forget about our YouTube channel. There's lots of great videos there, and it gives you more of an immersive experience. Just go to youtube.com/@faithandmorepodcast. So until next time, have a most blessed week, and know that each and every one of you are in my heart and prayers. Bless you.